I'm actually a Northeast guy and grew up in between Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I actually went to Penn in Philadelphia, University of Pennsylvania. I was in communication systems, which is a nice word at the PhD level for mathematics associated with how to optimize communication systems. And I actually started at a very well-known research facility called Bell Laboratories. And really quickly, while I loved the environment intellectually, I didn't want to die there. And it was a really frustrating, tough experience. But I think at the end of the day, the art of leading your own company is that balance between technology and a really excellent mapping to where it applies, and a really excellent mapping to people. I'm often asked what I think the key of all keys to being a good CEO is, whether it's big or small, and I've been both. And it's knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at. It's extremely important to be able to know both, because it gets to hiring when you're small, and it gets to hiring when you're big. The company prior to Nanophotonica, which was on the marquee ad, I think, that Kelli sent out, was actually a company that started with two of us, me here and my partner in Korea, who had in a hotel room in Korea with intestinal flu, and I won't go any further with that. And we ended up with about 1,000 people in 6 countries. And by the time we were done, we shipped about 750, 750 million antennas into the mobile phone industry largely. So that particular experience taught me a couple of things. One of them is that how you reach the customers are very important, obviously. And if it's super tech like this, how you do it is even more subtle. The second thing we did that's important in this example is we knew the value of strategic partnerships. But one of the greatest overlooked sources of capital are strategic partnerships and strategic investment. So this whole business of creating powerful partners to get your products to market and even invest in you is a huge deal. And I think it's a huge deal that's not well understood and not well utilized. And one of the things, just to bounce back to something we do in the Orlando Tech Council, and not well yet, to be honest with you, but we're beginning to do better in, is connecting some of the young companies that could use those strategic partners big time, and some of the big ones that might provide that partnership. Prior to that, I had done another initial startup, which failed. But also prior to that, I had headed divisions or companies that were not tiny, but not huge either. There are two things when you launch your own companies and they're still young. One was that it is probably, until you get quite large, you need to outsource your attorney for corporate documents and deals. You can easily outsource payroll to very competent companies, and there's a whole list of people like that. You can certainly outsource marketing and PR. But the question then becomes, how would you judge these people? If you don't have any basis of judgment, and if you haven't led something larger, then you really don't understand what's a good one and a bad one. So part of the issue that everyone asks about, and was on Kelli's list too, that I'm trying to hit here, is this issue of intellectual property. Things that will depend upon, holding people off other than rapid first mover adoption is where, when I think of it, there's two things that are really key there. One of them is the right kind of lawyering, of course. But the other is something that is as important, especially if you're selling in certain parts of the world, candidly, and that's it. Can it be reverse engineered? It's really key to build a strategy about what you want to protect, which sounds is that knowing where you want to separate yourself, especially if you have limited cash, and filing patents is an extremely expensive proposition once you get past provisionals, is so important. It means you must know what else is out there, and it especially in a dense area that's hot in any particular area. And you must know what it is that you need to file that would make it really difficult to get around you, and where in the world, of course. This whole thing of strategic channel partners, investment partners is a I think a subject that is so under discussed. What better place to beta your stuff? What better place if there's a company that actually sees strategic value in what you're doing to be one of your investors, perhaps not your only one. What better place to have you become well known to, so they may be a suitor or acquirer down the road. There's just so many elements to a relationship like that. It's hard to overstate.
Yeah, it sounds like the one thing that I'm hearing from you is that it's important to not just have a widget or have a piece
No,
of
gosh, no.
that you really need to understand, like, what's the long-term vision? Where's that opportunity sitting, so that you can point your
Sure.
patents, your future development, your
Sure.
resources, everything goes towards, stacking the bricks towards that vision.
Most of the time, and markets get ever more dense, right, and competitive, and ever more overlapping. That's actually what a good CEO does. It's the mapping of what they have to the market.
I feel like the consistent thing that I find people struggle with is really thinking that their customer is this, and really lacking the broader, bigger vision, and then aligning distribution channels, those partnerships, and even the investors. Like I see some people willing to take investment from anybody that'll give them $1. And you're right. I mean, it's something that we're not talking enough about, those strategic
I
partners.
don't think so. Yeah, I think the value of that track is almost hard to overstate. But are you getting someone whose company behind her or him is actually focused on your success because they can use it down the road, or some portion or some derivative of it? The best tech CEOs for smaller companies are well-connected people. I hate to say it, but they are. My point about strategic partners is well beyond investment. It's the channel. It's the fact they can be your first Office application. It's all that stuff, right? They've got their own biz dev guys that can help you. Why? Because they have a vested interest in it. But what you really want in the best of all cases is a situation in which no matter where anybody is, they just wouldn't be able to easily do what you're doing. And therefore, they may want to partner with you, or buy your IP, or buy your company. It's a whole different subject. But what are investors looking for? I mean, they're looking for return, but what they're looking for, especially as you get started, is that you can get to important milestones with sufficiently low risk. So this whole idea, not just of how much and from whom, but how to segment it out, is really important. You can't, for example, raise $1 million if it doesn't yield some particular deliverable that will let them think that it's not a bridge to nowhere, which is a standard VC term. You're going to get something for this rate. What are you going to get? What pieces of risk have you eliminated? Ask yourself the following question. If there were no equity investors of a traditional kind, right? No normal institutional VCs, right? Who would want what I do down the road? Ask yourself that. And if you can identify a few of them, find a way to get in front of them. Who knows?
Chris, thank you so much. This was really beneficial, and I'm going to make sure
Happy to do it.
we get the information out